Hi everyone, this is Mason Christensen, archivist at the Dearborn Historical Museum. Today I'm going to talk about the intersection of Ann Arbor Trail and Michigan Avenue, which today no longer exists, but back in the early 1800s it was probably the busiest intersection in the area. Today this intersection would be roughly around where the Southfield Expressway crosses Michigan Avenue. Just to clarify some matters, Ann Arbor Trail going from Dearborn Heights into Dearborn used to be an Indian trail. It continued on, hit Michigan Avenue, and would have continued on toward the Detroit River as a road later called the North Dearborn Road. Michigan Avenue was also an Indian trail in the early days as well. It was referred to as the Sauk Trail because the Sauk Native Americans out in Illinois and further west tended to use Michigan Avenue as a route to reach the British over in Canada. This map that I have on display here is actually done by Michigan archaeologist Wilbert Hinsdale, and it shows routes that he knows of as Indian trails in the Detroit area. So you can see here, there's Michigan Avenue, you can see Ann Arbor Trail, but you'll notice that Michigan Avenue doesn't really extend on beyond where Ann Arbor Trail meets up with it. It is not believed that Michigan Avenue through East Dearborn was actually an Indian trail. For the most part, when I've looked at early maps, Michigan Avenue doesn't really show up in East Dearborn in any form whatsoever until at least the late 1790s. So you can get a better sense of where Ann Arbor Trail crossed Michigan Avenue and intersected with the North Dearborn Road in this 1941 aerial photo. So in the top left, the diagonal road there is actually Ann Arbor Trail. At the time, it would have been the entryway to the Ford's Fairlane Mansion. The road that you kind of see a portion of to the bottom right that's diagonaling off along the Rouge, that is the North Dearborn Road. It would continue on toward Delray. Early travelers from Detroit into the Dearborn area are probably not taking Michigan Avenue in the late 1700s, early 1800s, because East Dearborn was super swampy. And so instead, they're probably either taking a boat down to what is now Delray, or they're going to take Jefferson Avenue down to that area. And then from there, they're going to go along a road along the Rouge River, which I referred to earlier as the North Dearborn Road. They're going to take that up into the Dearborn area, meeting up with what is now Michigan Avenue and then Ann Arbor Trail there. And at that spot, there's going to be a fair amount of traffic because of this importance of this intersection. And so by the early 1790s, you actually have West Dearborn's first business that opens up. This is actually a whiskey distillery. So, if you drive into downtown West Dearborn today from the Southfield Expressway, you will pass the site of Dearborn's first distillery and business roughly around the site of the Fairlane Town Center Apartments. That's going to be right where Ann Arbor Trail would cut off from the road and head off to the northwest. So, the distillery that was at the corner of Michigan and Ann Arbor Trail was only active for a few years, and through lawsuits and a bunch of other legal matters, it closed fairly quickly, and the property remained largely abandoned for a few decades. As you get into the 1820s, traffic really increased more on the road because it was easier to get to the Detroit area from New York State. You have in 1825, the Erie Canal's finished in New York State. And so there's just much more travelers in the area. And so around then, in the mid 1820s, Conrad Ten Eyck opens his famous Ten Eyck Tavern. Ten Eyck Tavern was the first stop for many new travelers into Michigan who came via Detroit, whether they went up the North Dearborn Road along the Rouge or they went along swampy Michigan Avenue through what is now East Dearborn. And so, for many people, it was truly a major landmark. It was the first place where they spent the night in Michigan, and it was something that just stood out in their memories. The tavern opened by Conrad Ten Eyck in the mid 1820s was originally at the southwest corner of Michigan Avenue and the North Dearborn Road. It's there's going to be a main building at that corner, but across the street you're going to have a stable. And unfortunately, men coming into the area were likely forced to sleep in the stable with animal herders and other people, in addition to the animals themselves. Only the women and children got to spend the night in the main tavern building, which I find kind of unfortunate. Being a tavern in the 1820s and the 30s, most likely, people there are going to be sleeping, multiple to a bed. So it's not necessarily the most comfortable accommodations, but Ten Eyck, was a fairly good host. He had a fairly good reputation for food served at the tavern, so it was certainly a decent place to stay. Before the village of Dearborn was established, Ten Eyck Tavern was really the most important establishment in the area. For years, you had members of the Wayne County Democratic Party that would annually meet there. It was a really popular spot to go to, but with the village of Dearborn growing up, with railroad service being introduced into the area by the later 1830s, with Michigan Avenue improving, it really lost some of its importance as a wayside establishment by the later 1830s. And so Conrad Ten Eyck actually rented off the establishment to another person, and it eventually burned down by the 1860s. With Ten Eyck Tavern being closed and most of the traffic going through the Dearborn area now going by railroad, the intersection at Michigan Avenue and Arbor Trail really lost its importance. When Henry Ford came back into the Dearborn area in the 1910s, he actually had Ann Arbor Trail closed off through his property by the Fairlane Mansion. The old entryway that survived into the 1970s that went up to his mansion was actually a remnant of Ann Arbor Trail. Further south, the North Dearborn Road that went toward Delray from Dearborn, Ford had a lot of that eliminated with construction for his Ford Rouge plant. You still had little dirt road remnants of it that survived much later. In general, the only surviving bits of history that are associated with this intersection are the surviving stretches of roads outside of Dearborn.